Okay, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, wherever you are, and welcome back to the Wired Thoughts podcast, where I interview world-class tech professionals and also leaders to get to know, to learn from their experiences, and also get their thoughts on the ever-evolving world of technology. And today, my guest is Hui Wen. So, meet everyone, meet Hui Wen. She's a machine learning scientist at MoneyLion, and it is a US-based fintech company that offers wide-ranging tools such as digital banking, lending, investment, and also personal finance management services. So that's what MoneyLion is about. And what I find really interesting about Hui Wen is that she also doubles as a career coach. Then I quote her tagline on her profile, right? So it is called Train as a Scientist, Artist at Heart. So sounds like she has a lot to share already. So yeah, welcome Hui-Wen, and yeah, thank you so much for being here. Do you want to say hi to our listeners?
Yeah, hello. Hi, Jiaying. Really thankful, for having me. And everyone who's listening, yeah, do keep on touch with this podcast. I think there's a lot of amazing things happening here.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, thank you so much, Hui-Wen, for doing this on a Saturday. So okay, let's get this started, right? So basically, I just want to go into the introduction a bit. So yeah, although I'm not in a data scientist, but I'm actually a silent follower of yours, and it started when you announced your comeback on LinkedIn. I actually came across that post, and then that's where I personally found your career trajectory quite interesting. Then the fact that you are practicing as a data scientist, but you also have such fond interest in helping people grow in their careers in tech and beyond. So before we go into the meat of the bulk of the podcast, I just want the audience to get to know you a little better. So maybe let's start with you telling us, okay, what do you currently do in your role, and then why at the same time why the transition from dietetics to biology to data science, and then at the same time how long have you been in tech? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we can start with where I am right now, and then we can sort of backwards engineer of the not very long journey of about say approaching 5 years, I think. So it really got me thinking. So where I am right now, so I'm a machine learning scientist at MoneyLion, which I think Jai has done a great introduction, where we are a US fintech, and where we really serve not just the digital financial services or and stuff, but where I am currently is that we are developing a recommendation engine, and that's where we serve personalized financial content and products to our millions of American users. And so we really like to empower them with better tools and knowledge about financial, so that we can make better informed decisions about it. So but before where I am right now, I've actually been through several areas, like what Jai also shared. I started off with dietetics at University Science Malaysia, USM, and later life took me to biology at the University of Manchester. I did a degree and master's there. But I think during that time, I was like exposed to bits and pieces of statistics and things like that. But what I really didn't know at the time was that I would end up going into the media industry and now in fintech. So I think the long story short here is that during this exploration phase, I was exposed to tech and data at different areas, and in very unexpected terms. So just to backtrack a little bit on the journey of actually finding out about data science was when I was in Astro, which is the media industry I mentioned about. Yeah, so I was part of the management associate program, and part of the rotation, we went from like one team to another, and that was when I actually found that there is a gap between the more technical people versus the more business or non-tech people. Yeah, it's like a lot of the times we were talking about the same thing, but because of the terminology used, and it's like that is like a mismatch, and that sort of got me wondering, what exactly this data thing is about. Yeah. So yeah, from one team to another, I gradually picked up what I know about data, and that led me to where I am today.
Okay, so you basically found that there's a gap in communication between two different groups of people. So you
Correct.
at the same then that's where you found, hey, like what's this whole data thing about? And that's how you
Correct.
develop from there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think it's also like a storytelling bit of it.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's like trying to help people connect the dots, but at the meantime, I'm connecting the dots for myself.
Okay, okay. Then maybe can you from there, right? Maybe can you also share like what are some of the projects that you're currently working on? It could be non-work, it could be like your personal one or your work as well. So yeah, I just want to understand what do you the projects that you're working on at the same time.
Yeah, so like what I shared, it's the recommendation engine that we're currently building. So I think that is the majority of what we do right now. We do research and then we develop and we deploy the changes so that we can really find out the best algorithm that suits to our users' needs.
Mm,
And at the meantime, we also have a lot of ongoing analysis to understand our users because I think to really make a project work, it really boils down to the target users
mm,
about their preferences.
mm.
So that is like on the work side of things, we
Work section.
research and we develop. But on the side, you also mentioned that I'm doing career coaching at the
Yep,
side.
yep.
So career coaching, so I do have people reaching out about wanting to break into tech. So what I also do is that I would review their CVs and look at the gaps about to find out their stories really about what they're interested in and what they're good at and how they can marry what they can offer to the companies that they have.
Mm. Okay, understand. Okay, very interesting. So I think let's talk about that even more. So right now, let's probably go into the main bulk of the session today. So about and let's look at the bigger picture first. So Hui Wen, just wanted to get your thoughts on what do you think the current state how do you what I mean share with us your thoughts on the current state of data science today, like probably from when you first started working in the field to right now. Have you seen any like have you seen the field evolve or yeah what's yeah any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah, so data science is still a very hot
Mm,
keyword
mm,
or topic or area right now. Just as when I started about officially 4 years ago. Yeah, so it remains very hot. However, I think things are definitely at a faster speed right now, with the introduction of more more talks about large language models, which I
right.
think we can talk about more today. LLM lah, we abbreviate it. So I think the ones that we are more familiar with is ChatGPT. So data science is still very popular, but the speed is accelerated by ChatGPT because of how easy it is for everyone to use it.
Mm,
Yeah. However, I feel like the core, the fundamental of data science is still there, where businesses, now that they are empowered with more data, skills, and literacy, we
mm,
are asking more questions
yep.
from the company perspective and us as the practitioners of data.
Mm,
Yeah, and another thing is that the acceleration of AI also meant that the tools are getting smarter, and
right.
that also means how it helps us rethink on how to do things differently or more effectively.
Okay. Then yeah, in the age of right now, okay, right now at the same time you mentioned that okay, the entire field is accelerated with ChatGPT and all these tools. So even people like a non-tech like me are also using it. Like I think even yeah, I noticed that a lot of my non-tech friends in very bizarre fields, they're also using ChatGPT to help enhance their workflow. So then with that, right, in the right with that, do you think it is still important to pick up data science or can we mostly leverage on these tools already? Yeah.
Hmm. I think you brought up a great point about it being a tool.
Mm.
So the way I see it is that data science really is like a mindset and also like a framework on how we approach things with data, right? And ChatGPT is one of the many tools that we can use to achieve this goal.
Mm.
It's like to me, I like to explain to people like ChatGPT is like an Excel sheet, right? Um, what it can do is that it can help you calculate A plus B equals to C, but firstly, as a user, you need to know what you want to find out, right? Even if you have A and B, if you don't even know what you want the outcome is, it's not really going to give you very meaningful things,
Mm.
right? So, in short, data science really is a mindset. It's about being like a scientist, like asking questions and trying to find out the answer. And ChatGPT, I think it has many cool things that,
Mm.
for example, it can be our bouncing board to ideate.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
it can ideate. It can help you, give you a framework
Correct.
about what you can explore.
Correct.
Um, yeah, so ChatGPT is a tool, and it really depends on how we use it.
Okay, then yeah, I do agree because when I do use the tools as well, yeah, you can provide it with a lot of prompts and they can give you the content you need or the sort of the feedback you need. But at the same time, you still need to understand the domain of the industry well
Mm,
so that you know what's right and what's wrong. Because usually, for the ChatGPT side, yeah, they can give you the answers, but sometimes it's certain parts is still a bit off. So that's why
mm,
I it goes back to what you have said about how you need to know what you want. At the same time, you still need to keep up with sort of understand and keep up with the domain of the industry as well. If not, you won't know if it's right or wrong. Then, like, if they give you the wrong thing, then you would still think it's right. So I don't think that yes, it's a tool. It can help you to enhance your workflow, but it doesn't mean that you should totally neglect learning about the domain of the industry, right?
mm. That's
Yeah.
very right.
Yeah. So okay, then I think then that goes to my second question, my next question, which is so you mentioned that you transitioned from a few fields, right? So was the transition difficult? Like, did you find it a difficult transition? And yeah, any thoughts?
Mm. Definitely has its challenging part because like what we were discussing is very exciting and at the meantime very popular, and what that translates is that it has high competition,
Mm,
and there is a level of expectation onto the technical skills that to actually do the job,
mm,
right? So it was challenging such that information and knowledge is out there, but trying to narrow down the scope. And personally, I've come across many candidates or friends who are trying to break into the field, and then helping me reflect at the time where knowing your motivation to
mm,
learn data science is very important. So it's like why was I interested
yeah.
in data science at the time? And for me, it was to understand how to fill the gaps for people and for myself. And so really the first part is knowledge and information is out there, but how might we scope it down?
Yeah.
And secondly is that um, once we have scoped it down, how do we actually start learning it um, and putting it into like real world practice?
Mm,
And thirdly would be how might we then convince the other people to take a chance on us when,
mm,
you know, especially when we're trying to break in. Yeah.
mm,
So, but I think tying everything together, it still boils down to why you're doing this.
yep.
Because if you don't know your why, you really can't push it through everything.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that because I feel in every career, the the why needs to be very strong is so that you can keep going also in a way.
Mm.
Because if you're just there, yeah, for the salary or for the sake of it, you can't fully immerse yourself in the field, and then you won't be you won't be at your best. So I do agree with knowing your why, and this I do think that this knowing your why, right, understanding your why can be very uncomfortable for a lot of people because it requires you to go very deep into yourself, understanding like, okay, why do you want to do this? Like really going very deep, and then you can go down into a very deep rabbit hole, and this is why it's very uncomfortable.
Mm.
So following up on that, right, have you ever met, like, since you have career coach quite a number of people, so have you ever, is this a common issue like among people, like they just okay, probably know that okay, data science is the way to go, but they don't know, but the true why is not strong enough, so maybe they might do for a few months and then that's all. So yeah, any
Yeah.
instances of that?
Yeah, I think that's a really amazing sharing that about, digging your inner voice to understand the why. Um, I would say most of the people don't know. They're in it, or they're exploring data science for, like what you mentioned, could be the salary, could be the job title that sounds
Mm,
sexy.
yeah, yeah,
um yeah, and to me, right, that can be why,
can,
because
yes.
yeah, it can be a good motivation, but the question then is, how far will this motivation bring you? If you're very committed, say, okay, I want to just really hustle for the first 5 years and retire early,
Mm.
it can be a very strong motivator, and but you really need very, very high lah
Correct.
motivation on that regards. Yeah, so that's why like during my career coaching, or even just any friends who are looking to break into something different,
Yeah.
the question that I probe them is really, have you thought about why you're doing this? Because it's so hard.
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it might sound like really easy. So why are you doing this? But it's actually a very, very deep question. So usually when you ask them this, how do they react? Like, do they like, do you caught them off guard with the question, or
I think usually when we ask the first why, it's easy, like, oh,
okay,
because I want to earn more law, yeah.
okay,
And then
okay.
the next question is, why do you want to earn more? So I personally really like this framework of the root cause analysis, like it's a 5 why. So you ask why 5 times, like you really, really drill down in a more systematic way. So
Mm,
why do you want to earn more? So
mm,
maybe it can be, oh, I want to live a comfortable life. And then
mm,
why do you want to live a comfortable life? Or what does that mean to you? Is it a big car, big house? Or
mm,
yeah, it really tries to strip down bit by bit. And
mm,
I think this mindset, right, it really helps in the data science work as well, or I think in maybe in digital marketing as well, like why
mm.
our users clicking this.
Yeah.
And in the data scientist point of view would be, oh, why is sales going down?
Mm,
And then you start to ask a lot of questions. So I
mm,
think just to tie back, right, some tips for many people out there looking to break into the field. Sometimes it's not just asking about the why, but also, with this mindset, how do you translate it to your work, or even when you're trying to um apply for a job? Because in an
mm.
interview, people will ask you the same thing: why
Yep.
this company, why this role, why this
Yeah.
change?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think the soul searching bit would be wasted.
Yep.
Mm,
Agree. Agree. Because if you really understand yourself, and if the why is really strong, it helps you to sell yourself even more to the
mm,
potential employers. Like they can see that your passion is there and your why is very
mm.
strong, so they'll be even more convinced. But of course, to get there, I do think it takes a lot of time, like a lot of internalization, a lot of deep thoughts. So yeah, interesting sharing about the five asking yourself
Wise.
5 times. So I will even try that myself from time to time just to keep myself in check. So yeah,
Mm,
thanks for sharing that. So maybe let's go back into, just want to understand a bit further on how you as a practicing data scientist, do you leverage on all these AI tools yourself, to be it for work, or you are also using them to learn new things or anything? Yeah.
yep. So yes, we do use it actively in our day to day.
Mm,
So we use it in several different areas.
mm,
Firstly, when I can perhaps break this down into, like, let's say in the project phase, which is a very real day-to-day thing. So for example, at the start of a project, or you would firstly come up with some questions about why are we looking at this problem, and then
Okay.
we can do ideation on our own. However, there will be gaps where we don't where we systematically, in bias, we don't really think about it. So that's where I would use ChatGPT to brainstorm together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like a friend, like you bounce here, bounce there, but this time it's with a machine. But yeah, so I would like have my own ideation first, and then I would have this bouncing period with ChatGPT, and say, or let's say we have already a list of ideas, and then we would like to narrow down to one of the ways of doing things. Then that's where, I would think about, okay, how might I structure my workflow, and then I would sort of think, okay, I would like to have a function as in when we write a code lah. We would like to have it in a pipeline, say there are ABC steps, right? So I would think about, okay, I would like to have A doing this, B doing that, C doing that. And I would then try to think, okay, are there any other gaps in this planning? And then I would ask ChatGPT, okay, so I have this idea in mind, how might I break it down in stages? Just to cross-check.
Hmm.
Okay. And then the next step really is, after, let's say, we already have that framework, that pipeline, we do write codes as data scientists to analyze things or even build a model.
Hmm.
So that's when, usually I would start drafting in English, really, to see the end to things. So I always like to start with the end in mind. So
Hmm.
what yeah,
Okay.
so what that is, my it means that okay, I already know this is my final outcome. I want to backward reverse engineer it. So and in then I would write pseudocode. Pseudocode meaning like it is as if my code is going to do this function. So for example, sum column A, for example.
Okay.
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 So when what that means is that, okay, I already know that I want to write a line of code to sum the column A. So that's where I would think, okay, I'm going to write it this way, but if I'm going to work the same thing on a very big data set, okay, are there better ways of writing, or of getting to the same goal? Then that's where I look to ChatGPT and ask, okay, so in a data frame, meaning that the size of that data of this size, suggest an optimized way of coding this.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then that's where we will do test and trial
Okay.
to actually try to get that code running. And personally, I've seen, like, maybe I've reduced my trial and error time by about 50%. So
Wow. Nice.
yeah, so it's like even before ChatGPT, we would rely
Yeah.
on Google and Stack Overflow a lot. It's like different places to achieve the same thing. But like also what you mentioned, ChatGPT has its own flaws as well. So we call it
Hmm.
hallucination, where it would make up things and sound very confident, as if, I'm correct. But yeah, but I think it's also very important that, we keep that open mind
Yep.
of using ChatGPT in our day
Yep.
to day.
Yep.
Just a little bit sharing on the side of how I use ChatGPT as a personal tool as well.
Hmm.
Is like, for example, if I'm interested in an article, or like to find out more, I would, look to summarize based on another big topic. Because like, for example, in the data science field, things are evolving so fast, and it's very hard to keep up. I have to admit that. And sometimes, research papers can be like very long, and with research papers there are new terminologies that, it will take you another one day to actually understand what federated learning is, for example. And then that's where it can be a very good summarization tool to help you learn.
Yeah, I personally use ChatGPT to help me summarize news articles, to also
Mm,
learn new concepts. Because I do agree that there's so much things happening. It's a struggle to even keep up sometimes. So ChatGPT came in at quite a timely manner where it will help you to also learn things by, yeah, like throwing it prompts to summarize articles, throwing it prompts to, okay, can you explain this concept to me as if like I'm five, something like that. So all these
yeah.
things, right, it will really help you to pick up new things even faster than before. So I just also want to ask, I think you probably answered a bit already, but yeah, before ChatGPT, right, how did you like what kind of the tools did you use to yeah in your workflow? So just now you mentioned Stack Overflow a little.
Mm.
So yeah, maybe can you share us a little bit about yeah prior to ChatGPT, what did you use, and just so we can see how much ChatGPT has enhanced your workflow as a whole. Yeah.
I would say the most disrupted bit is the Googling and Stack
Mm,
Overflow part for me.
mm,
Um like previously I would have gone to just search like with the same prompt
mm,
on Google, and then I would go through articles
mm,
like on Medium. Um
Medium. Okay.
Medium, yeah, I love the UI, love how structured it is.
Mm,
But and also like Stack Overflow, there are a lot of different community-led
right.
suggestions. They are very helpful, but sometimes all I need to know is just that one liner that works. Yeah. Which sometimes ChatGPT may not work, right?
Okay.
But yeah, it may not work. But yeah, they achieve the same goal maybe 90% of the time.
Mm. So would you say it's probably harder to not go without ChatGPT already in your workflow? Like it's already like a it's a sort of an important part of your workflow already, or you can still function without it.
I can still function without it because firstly, I do the ideation and planning on my own first. And but if we just take out ChatGPT, Stack Overflow, Google all together, then yeah, I think I would really need some help.
Okay, okay, understand. So besides ChatGPT, do you use any other AI tools to help enhance your workflow? Any, yeah.
Yeah, so I do use Bart as well,
Hmm.
just like a check and balance sort of thing.
Okay.
And like personally, there are different use cases that I would go for for ChatGPT and Bart sometimes, just to see um how different they are or how similar they are. And
Mm,
I think this check and balance is very important because they have two different teams working behind. Um Slightly different technology, but in the end, they are just helping us to solve problems. And ChatGPT has its advantages, and but has its own um language style. So I think it really depends on what we are looking for at the time.
okay, so what's the when you sort of check between both, right? Are the differences a lot, like in terms of the
Mm,
results shown? Any preference on the tools? Like maybe you right now you prefer Bard already, or yeah.
I personally use ChatGPT more,
Okay.
but in terms of the recommendations, I think they can be quite similar about 70% of the time. Yeah, it's just that the language used, I'm personally more resonating with ChatGPT because it's more human conversation like. But I have friends who really prefer more straightforward and direct conversation manner. They would go for Bart. So it's like we make friends. We have different preferences of a friend. Some people like to
Right.
talk more. Some people just
Right.
tell me the bullet point.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm more of a ChatGPT.
Okay. Then you also mentioned, do you use it to generate code as well, or is mostly helping you to, brainstorm on ideation and the business analysis part, or yeah, do you also use
Um, I personally don't use these tools for business analysis
it?
because of the data privacy issue.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and but how my I still try to get insights is I would look at it at one level higher, as opposed to feeding it the data lah. Yeah. Say if there is this anomaly or in this period in time. So I would then look into, oh, were there any major changes to the tax policies or whatever during that point in time.
Okay, okay. Then, speaking about ChatGPT as well, I noticed that they have a lot of different plugins now.
Mm,
So, notice, I think for data science one is more on, I think one of them is code interpreter or
mm.
something. So, do you think all these tools can help a data scientist streamline their workflow even more? Like, yeah, any thoughts on this? Or do you think this with all these plugins, can it disrupt any any data scientist job, like maybe any thoughts on this? Because like all these tools are very accessible now as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Uh, in terms of disruption, I think yes.
Mm.
Because what it really does, like what I shared just now, is like it really shortens the trial and error time, coming up with frameworks so fast. And but I personally see that this disruption is for good,
Mm.
because it opens up, frees up your time to do more meaningful thinking work. However, I'm also personally quite wary about how easily accessible these tools are,
Mhm.
because what it also means is that people can get lazier
Yeah.
when things are so easy. You know,
Right.
you don't really need to think about. So, for example, like a calculator, right?
Yeah.
12 plus 19. Um, in the past, we would have done the math on our own, but now we would just take out our phone, the 12
Yeah.
plus 19. And then what it strips off, right? Maybe at the time, what we see is maybe two seconds faster.
Mm.
However, in the long run, right, what it means is that our acumen, or like the sensitivity
Right.
towards trends or even instinct, will be, without these trainings, we would sort of, we don't polish it anymore, which
Mm.
is very important for a data scientist or a data analyst. um yeah, so when we strip away that thinking process from ourselves, in the future we would just, oh, generate a pipeline, generate a framework for me. Yeah,
Mm.
that's the first part. And the second part is that I'm also personally um be very mindful about how this can potentially disrupt what it may replace, or really take over a lot of the job as a junior developer or junior
Yeah.
data scientist. So
Yeah.
what that means is that, although we argue that, with more, we can free up the time to do more meaningful things, and criticize the system more as a senior, but in order to get to that senior level, right, we really need to go through this banging wall period as a junior. And what happens right now with ChatGPT is that it's doing all the banging
Right.
walls sometimes, or maybe most of the time for us.
Yeah.
And when people skip that period, or even like drawing, right, you really need to have that ugly apple face before you can draw something beautiful. um but now, with ChatGPT, people would have expected you to be a senior without being a junior. So
Mm.
I think that's really one thing that all of us need to be very mindful about when we
Yeah.
use tools like that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think you brought up very important points because yes, all these tools I know. I even notice it in my circle and even sometimes myself. Is that it's very easy right now to get things done. So you just show them the prompts and then they can probably give you the results already. But the underlying part of it is you might be complacent.
Mm,
You might start to take, you might start to always, you might start to want to cruise through everything already because it can be easily done. So totally agree on the point where we still need to be very self-aware
mm,
that uh, yes, things are very easy, but that's where the hard part is obviously to that's where I feel the hard part is to keep learning. How do I put this, but the harder part is comes probably the sorry, let me frame my thoughts a little. So I just want to say yes, things are very easy now, but things are also gonna get harder because first is there will be a lot of competition. And anyone can do anything right now. Second is the need to understand the industry, your domain is even stronger, which comes back to the point where I feel you still need to go through the banging wall phase just so that you can level up. If not, if you're always relying on these tools, how to say, you might at the end of the day you might first be very reliant. Second thing is you might also be just feel that you might be very empty because
mm.
you're just relying on these tools, but you don't have the actual substance because you've never gone through the pegging office, which every junior have to go through, I feel. So with this kind of scenario, right, how do you think how can we sort of not to say improve this, but how do we deal with this kind of situations? Like how what should your juniors do more of? Yeah.
Mm. You brought up an interesting point about self-awareness.
Mm, mm,
So this is something that people cannot teach you how to be self-aware, but rather at every beginning, every time before you use ChatGPT
mm.
or other LLMs is asking that question to yourself, how might I do it? Okay. And also remembering that whatever provided by ChatGPT may not always be the best.
Yep.
You have to criticize it back. You
Yep.
don't take everything. Um, and at the meantime, I think it's always great to learn from different voices,
Mm,
meaning um, with every thing that you learn, try to jump out and ask the question from an opposite side of things, the contrarian thinking, we call it, meaning, um, oh, you said A works, and then you would try to jump out of that mindset and why wouldn't A work? Yeah. So for example, like myself, when I thought of an idea, I would always say ask about the pros and cons of this approach. Yeah, so that it's not always just following what you want. Yeah,
mm.
and once that becomes a mindset, right, it then translates into your daily life, that you're not just only hanging out with friends who are like you,
Yep.
but but at the meantime, you have colleagues who have different ways of doing things than you.
I guess this is the part where you sort of have to internalize what does it mean to be open, because
Mm,
I do feel that the, the terms being open is, yeah, it might sound very easy, like, okay, just be open, but actually it's much harder than you think to actually be open, because if you find if, because all this, we would, each of us, I would say, we would have our own assumptions and beliefs. So if
mm,
you find someone that have different thoughts, and they are challenging your thoughts, you will obviously feel very uncomfortable, and this is very normal, I feel. So it's very
mm,
uncomfortable to feel challenged, but uh, so this is the part where you need to train. We should train ourselves to be open, and be open means being accepting of different thoughts. That's where we are also. That's where, because having different thoughts, having different opinions, learning from different people with different years of experiences will obviously level up your thinking as well, to make you be a more critical thinker, to also really think through about things. So go deeper on, back to your main thing, your why, understanding why you're doing this, understanding what is the issue are we actually solving, and stuff like this. So
think like just to chip in here. So one thing that we can also practice is contrarian thinking, is
mm,
that when we're having meetings with people
mm,
of different expertise,
mm,
um try to always put that different hat and
mm,
ask them,
mm,
why didn't you do this, or why did you do this? And once you get this into a habit, right, of course in a non-provoking way, because
mm.
like what you mentioned, it can be very
Yes,
uncomfortable,
yes, yes.
like you're challenging my authority. But if we always put up the front where we just want the best outcome for this project and also for my own learning, we try to come up with different angles to ask about why they do things that way. And later on, when it becomes a habit, it would then translate into our work as a data scientist, as a data analyst. Because when we are trying to analyze something, we would have already thought, okay, I'm going to plot this trend, and we would just stop there, right?
Mm,
But once you have that different angles of trying to approach the same problem, you would
mm.
then sort of open up the blind spots that you would have missed.
So with this, I really, so with all of this thinking, comes to, I feel, boils down to soft skills already. So a little bit about soft skill side. So it's more on how do you communicate all of this well? How do you communicate to your stakeholders? How do you put this message across, yeah, without provoking people? So what do you think? How do you think like a junior or a fresh grad can pick up all of this? I mean, obviously, this is all through years of working experience, but what would you tell them? How can they pick up all of this in their early years of working? Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, I like to share this from, for example, in a data scientist
Mm,
way of communicating, without provoking people, but trying to get down to problem solving.
mm,
So one way that I find very helpful communicating with people
mm,
is that you will start to outline what you're trying to get at very early beginning. So,
mm,
for example, we would like to yeah, thanks for sharing about XYZ.
mm,
You mentioned this, but I wonder why. How might we this? So
mm,
it's like you have a problem statement, like a scientist, you have a problem statement, you have a hypothesis about your thoughts,
mm,
about your assumptions,
mm,
and then you have the methodology outline. And the answer can be a yes or no from coming from people to validate whether you're understanding it correctly or what are the considerations that they have. So to recap, we mentioned about XYZ. What have you considered ABC?
mm,
I thought,
mm,
or in my opinion, this is that. What do you have to, is there anything that you can add on, in that framework? So you are not saying people are wrong.
mm,
And you have, I think the most important part is that you wanted to let them know you're on the same page. I understand where you're going at.
mm,
And we are just trying to solve the same problem together.
mm, mm. So in a way, it's more to framing your thoughts and sort of really think through the possible sort of the
Mm,
possible hypothesis and everything. Think through, put yourself in the framework before going to that meeting and presenting your solution. So at least you have
mm.
all your bases
And
covered.
I think like this applies not just in the work
Mm,
space. Like, in uni you have a lot of projects, group projects, and then you have many different people with different thoughts,
right.
and that's where you want to get your ideas across. It's easy to not just question anything, right? You just do. Yeah, but there will be many points, especially after uni, that you need to make that point of view. Mm.
And all these things, I feel that the AI tools can't really
Mm,
teach us because all of this is more of the human soft skill sides, which you need to face it heads on, I feel, to in
mm.
order to learn.
Although arguably there are like wearables right now that I saw that this project where the ChatGPT output is at the glasses where you can read
Oh,
the output. Yeah, so what
okay.
happens is that during interview you can really read your
Wow,
response about,
okay.
especially technical interviews when it's very A or B sort of thing.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, but how long can this bring us, right? And if if
Yeah,
if even with a very supposedly natural thing, we are already that reliant. I mean, then what's the point of being a human? Yeah, it's very hard to imagine in a world
yeah,
where if all the very small things, oh, should I drink orange juice or apple juice right now? Uh, you okay, there are days where you really don't want to think about what to
correct.
drink. You just take whatever you have. But even with the small decisions like that, you are making your own choice.
Mm,
If even a very small interaction is being stripped away, so what makes us human then?
mm. Yeah, so what's left for us to do, basically?
Yeah, yeah, let's just lie down there and I don't know. There's this movement 躺平, so
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Chinese
yeah,
just
Tanping,
lie,
yeah.
yeah, just lie flat.
Yeah.
But yeah lor.
Yes, I mean, when ChatGPT exploded, I think last few months, right? I was also thinking like, can practically do like everything in a way. Yeah, maybe
Mm,
there are some flaws, but it will improve. It will get better. Then if we as humans are like just so reliant on it, what do we do next?
mm.
So
So I think what the very beginning of this podcast we talked about how ChatGPT is a tool,
mm,
right? So yeah, Lord, it really just keep reminding us that it is a tool to help us do our work better. But at the same time, how might we be a better version of ourselves with them?
Okay, then I think flows perfectly to my next question, which is, so yes, we have all these tools right now, and they will also improve and everything, right? Then how should we differentiate ourselves? How can we leverage on all these tools to differentiate ourselves in, let's say, in our jobs? So be it in terms of me finding a new job, or like improving myself as a data scientist, or yeah, how can we leverage on all these tools to, yeah, to, to sort of differentiate ourselves.
Hmm. I think ChatGPT really differentiates between a resourceful person or not.
Mm-hmm.
Resourceful meaning, given a challenge, how capable are you at finding solutions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So ChatGPT can help us um, scope things out, narrow things down, but at the meantime, have an opinion over things with all the information that we have. So, for example, you mentioned about finding a job, but what we always say about personalizing your CV or personalizing yourself as a candidate is that perhaps you can take the job description um, into ChatGPT and then try to summarize what are the key skills, and then you position yourself in your CV to fit that role. Look for relevant project experience, and that translates into real life, right? Information is there. How do you translate it and convince people that this can be tried out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the critical thinking part of things.
Okay, then what about using all these tools to, speed up your learning in any way? Yeah, any thoughts on that?
So like what you brought up about the summarization bit, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where we can really skim through the fat and get to, teach me like I'm five. Um, I think that approach is great when you are exploring multiple things at the same time. But when we want to dive deeper, I think it is still worth going through that hassle of reading through that painful article and try to have a thought of what it's trying to mean, because summarization, it can miss out very important parts. It can filter out things that you personally would have find it very helpful but have already been skimmed through. um and this is a very interesting use case about learning about yourself as well. So how might you take your life journey or like position yourself to an opportunity that you really like? Yeah, people even use ChatGPT as a therapist.
Oh, yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's like trying to find the hidden nugget in you.
Okay. So, yeah, thanks. Thank you, Hui Wen, so much for sharing all of your sharing. So I do think that you have dropped a lot of very insightful, very interesting nuggets. So I just want to sort of quickly put to summarize as well. So I would say, moving forward, whoever you are, right, non-tech, tech, I think it's important to use, to not stay away, I mean, to enhance, to sort of embrace all these tools. So use it as a tool, right? So use it to enhance your workflow. But second thing is also be mindful to not, in a way, rely on it so much to the extent where you stop learning, you stop picking up things, and you stop picking up things. And then my third one is, um, in this age of I would say it's even more important for you as an individual to have an opinion, because there's so much content these days. I think we see in every platform, right? So much, so much platform. Sometimes I can't even keep up. But that's where you could see an opportunity in a way, where people with opinions, people with unique thoughts would stand out even more, because the rest, they are mostly like content mills, right? They just produce the content for the sake of producing it. So this is where having an opinion is very important, but also coming to the stage of having an opinion means you need to do all the you need to do all the groundwork. So you still need to read the articles, the very painful articles that you mentioned. You still need to watch the videos, go and learn yourself. That's where you start to pick up on the industry, pick up on your skills, and then that's where you also slowly start to form opinions, which I feel is the most valuable part throughout the journey. That's where I think a lot of employers or whoever are like bosses or what would look at, like the fact that you have an opinion. Then yeah, many things, but what I can summarize from is what I can some of my key takeaways from my sharing is the importance, the it's never been more important to have an opinion than and then this one also boils down to knowing your why. So it goes back, this is all full circle, and so knowing your why. Okay, why do you want to do this first? Then you start to think, put yourself in the framework, asking yourself the why 5 times. Then you get to know yourself better. Then after that, naturally you would know what you want to do, what you want to pick up. Then that's the picking up part, is where you can start using all the tools to either enhance your workflow to pick up something even faster, but don't don't not do the hard work, the groundwork, which is do things from scratch and everything. But then that's where, because once you do that, you immerse yourself in that's where you start to form yourself as a thought leader already, which ultimately I feel it should be the end goal for everyone, whether you're non-tech or tech, which is to become a thought leader. That's where you will truly stand out to everyone, right? So I guess this is what I can piece from whatever I've got from you. This is how I piece it together, just to summarize it. So
I think this is really incredible summary. Yeah, it's
anything you
amazing.
want to add on top of that, maybe in terms of the soft skills part, maybe, yeah.
I think I'd just like to summarize this in the data scientist context, right? We mentioned about how data science is a mindset, and what you have described just now is that really the problem statement is, how might I be a better human, or how might I be a X, okay? And the gist of being a data scientist or applying data science in your day-to-day is that you would have a hypothesis of how you might want to achieve that goal. And at the same time, that hypothesis can be nullable, meaning it can be wrong or right.
Yep.
But what matters is that you keep trying, and with the assistance of the tools, you may try fast, fail fast, and try again.
Yeah. Try fast, fail fast. Don't give up. I would say a lot of people tend to give up after the failing part, which I also totally understand, because sometimes it is tough. So, but as long as you keep an open mind, which is what we have also mentioned just now, and I would think that you can go far. Okay, so yes, I think let's wrap this up. So Hui Wen, I have 2 more questions for you. So my next question is, okay, with all of this that's happening, like the fact that we even discuss about what to us as humans do, that sort of thing. So are you still hopeful for the future of tech though? Like, yeah, with whatever that's happening.
Yes, I am. And I
Okay.
think by understanding more, we can do more
Mm.
ethically.
Okay. So yeah, maybe I think the ethics part will be a new sort of like a more would get some spotlight as we go, I feel, because like all these tools anyhow need to be regulated and moderated in a way, because a lot of probably sharing private information to the tools, right? So yeah, do you have any thoughts on this part, like the ethics part of the field? Or
I think there are a lot of big pieces that needs to be moved.
Mhm.
And it's a chicken and egg problem. So
Mhm.
as a user, I think as a user, we can only do our part by really knowing what really needs to be shared versus what's the cost and benefit from sharing that.
Mm.
Yeah. And just also to share to everyone, there's a new research paper about how the performance of GPT has gone
Mm.
down
Mm.
just in a few months' time. So that could really be impacting, not just your work, but also what your data can be used or transformed.
Okay. So yeah, I guess be more mindful in terms of that. And yeah, then other any other aspects that you feel that we can all look forward to with the development that we have in AI, maybe like in terms of any new potential new roles that could come up, or anything this area perhaps.
Let me think. In terms of new roles, I believe there will be a
Mm,
lot more, and a lot of those that we may not even anticipate it
mm,
previously, like prompt engineering. It wasn't
yep,
even a title back then,
yep.
but now it would have become a prerequisite skill, yeah, for most people. Okay. But I think rather than focusing on what's next, predicting, let's just do our part
Mm,
and be better at what we do and
mm.
be open, be critical. Yeah.
Okay, interesting to know. Okay, then I would say my last question to you is, okay, what can we expect from you in the next few months, or maybe like the next year, and how can our listeners reach out to you? Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, I would still see myself growing a lot in terms of helping businesses, people find their stories. And it's not limited to any medium,
Mhm,
whether it's in data, their career story, or their life story.
mhm,
And where I think I can really contribute back to people is also helping people connect the dots. So if there are some dots that you like to, help connect together, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I think Jayin can share more on that later.
yeah.
Yeah, very happy to, have the time, with you, Jayin. It's been amazing.
Yeah, okay, yes, I think that's my last question, and thank you so much, Hui Wen, for, chatting with me on this. I've learned a lot myself as well, even though, yeah, I'm not a data scientist, but I do feel a lot of the principles and the ideas you have shared can even be applied to a non-tech person or anybody at all. So I just want to summarize our sort of chat for today for the TLDR version for you, for everyone. So yes, just want to summarize basically, yes, we have a lot of AI tools right now, but use it as a tool. I mean, first thing is embrace it first. Embrace it as a tool. Don't not use it. It will definitely help to speed up your workflow uh, by a lot. So embrace it as a tool, but don't totally neglect doing the groundwork. So I would say groundwork could be, yeah, picking up a skill from scratch, like learning through videos or reading the articles and stuff. So yes, that part is tough, but you don't forget you have the tools now to help you to speed up that. But at the same time, make sure that you're always picking up and learning about the industry. Second, I think the next thing is uh with while you go through all that, remember to also shape yourself not just as an employee, but shape yourself more of a top leader, right? So if you're asking us, okay, how do you stand out? I would say having thoughts and opinions stand out. And then how do you then once you have all those thoughts, how do you share it through social media? So don't neglect that part. Like social media is there for a reason, and make sure you always you also leverage on that, because once you have built some following, I would say it could sort of accelerate your career by a lot. So don't underestimate social media. Then at the same time, again, the more important part of all this is understand why you're doing this. Because yes, salary, perks, and everything, they're great, really great. Like some can be really great, and it's not wrong to use that as your why. But in order for you to go longer, because like career, I think we'll be usually working until we are 60 or something, right? Maybe shorter now, but it's still very long journey. So if you don't understand, if you don't have, if the why, the core why is not strong enough, you might not be able to sustain. And then you always find yourself in the loop, like, oh, yeah, I'm in this job now, okay, I don't seem to understand it, I don't seem to like it. Then you go to another one, you still do the same, then you keep jumping that at the same time. Then basically you're wasting a lot of time. So take the time. Yes, understanding the why sounds like a very easy question, but it's actually a very deep question you need to ask yourself, because it will get very uncomfortable. What I can say is that I've went through this myself. It was a very dark phase. But I can say that it takes a lot of time, that you really need to sit down and ask yourself why. But if you feel that, okay, it's tough, then you can use ChatGPT to be your soundboard maybe. Then, or even talk to your friends, right? So understand this why. But so if you're curious, okay, like what do you want to do now? Why are you lost? So it's because the core why is not strong enough. So once you get this part sorted, I would say the rest should follow, right? So, and then if you're like lost, like if you want a better framework, reach out to Hui Wen on LinkedIn. So this is where I think she can be a very, very interesting mentor. So to help you to understand your why, and if you're in tech, then I think that's she can help you even more. So yes, I will drop her links in the respective platforms. So feel free to reach out to Hui Wen if you have any questions. So yes, I think I just want to wrap this up. So thank you so much, Hui Wen, for being here. I appreciate all of your insights and learnings, and I'm sure our listeners will definitely gain a lot from this sharing. So if there's anything, just reach out to us. We are on every platform. So, and if there's nothing else, I just want to wrap up and say thank you. So see you all in the next episode. Bye.